Let's take a look, though, at what he's done so far this season. 7 events. He's leading the PGA Tour in driving distance with an average of greater than 320 yards. And while he is at tied for 122nd in driving accuracy, you can look at Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, very similar numbers. He does rank 3rd in strokes gained off the tee. He's 10th in strokes gained tee to green. He has admitted that his wedge game is still looking to improve. He's tied for 134th in approaches from 50 to 125 yards. So, John, look, this is one of the great experiments that we have seen in really the entire modern era of golf, because it's not like he was a great college player and struggled and he decided, I'll totally recalibrate myself.
Right.
He's had great success. What do you make of the bulking up, the adding of speed of the Bryson DeChambeau experiment?
You're right, Gary. We are watching the experiment. Bryson is all about experimenting. He's all about physics. He's all about science. There's nothing wrong with that. We've seen players lose weight and not work out so well because their body types just didn't support that weight loss. We've seen those players gain the weight back and go on and play pretty well. In Bryson's case, he felt like he needed more distance. And to his credit, he's gained that muscle mass. He's gained that muscle weight. Looks like he's maintained his flexibility and his mobility, which is ultra important. You can see it in the driving distance, obviously. Strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach to the green. That's all great, and that tells me a lot of good things are happening. A little concerned about those strokes gained from 50 to 125, 150 yards is not very good. We're going to see how this experiment goes. So far, it's so good, but I want to see how his stamina is going to hold up. When you're carrying that much weight and you're going to go around Muirfield Village now 2 weeks in a row, one of the tougher walking golf courses, everything is uphill, downhill. Let's see how his stamina holds up throughout this experiment, because so far it looks pretty good, but let's see how his body holds up through this year.
Well, John, he would maintain that his fitness is better than ever, that he's more flexible and that he's been hitting the weights and just the training so hard that his aerobic capacity is greater too. So in his mind, he's improved in every area. And I think this is one of the great experiments, as Gary was mentioning, really in the history of golf. Kind of unprecedented to get this big and keep getting better. We've seen a lot of guys try to get big. This was the original experiment of Keith Clearwater back in the 90s. Keith always said, it really wasn't the experiment that went badly. It was other things in my career and my life that kept me from being a great player. But he believed in the principle. And I think, Bryson has the knowledge and the discipline and the drive to make it happen at a level that we haven't ever seen before. And, to go from 30th or 35th in driving distance to first this quickly and to keep improving with your score, amazing. And, he started at 195. He's now about 240. He believes that if the principles hold up, he'll get to 270. He's not going to stop building muscle and getting speed until he starts to see himself stall or go backward. And that hasn't happened. He's reaching in practice ball speeds of 200 miles an hour. I don't know if any tour player's ever done that before. We see that with long drive players. He's hitting it around, he's hitting about 180, 185 miles per hour in competition. That's dramatic. That we've seen John Daly and we've seen other players, Tiger for a while, be much longer than everybody else. And it's always helped. This is sort of the ultimate experiment, or at least the ultimate, validation of bomb and gouge, because he's not going to be quite as straight, but maybe that extra distance really does work in the calculation of who's the best player. And Bryce is just going for it. I got to give him props for just, the incredible dedication and effort. And, he really is improving. So far, so good, as you say, John. I don't know that he's going to back off in the sense that we've seen other players sort of implode more quickly. He's already shown quite a bit of improvement.
Jaime, he's such an interesting cat. To some of the things that you were just talking about, they list him as 6'1" in the PGA Tour guide. 240 pounds now. He wants to get to 270. Does he not want to have sand kicked at his face? I mean, it's amazing what he's doing. 200 miles per hour ball speed. That's significantly above the highest ball speed right now, which is what Cameron Champ on tour. At 26 years old, That, you know, the hat, the one-length clubs, the science stuff, the calculations, as you called it, Jaime, the flash of petulance at times. It seems like if there's a general consensus on Bryson DeChambeau, it's that people don't want to like him. It's too much of kind of a know-it-all, at times seeming entitled, at times just seem flat out weird. But Bryson's not about just an image of hot air. He is performing with 5 wins in 100 starts. That's a better start to his career than Patrick Reed, Jason Day, and Justin Rose, just as a few examples. You know, so maybe Bryson will muscle his way into our hearts. But when we realize that while we may not always buy what he's saying, he believes, Gary, in what he is saying, and he's delivering on that promise. So I think Bryson is incredibly entertaining, and I think he's good for the game.
Oh, are you kidding? He is one of the most valuable commodities on the PGA Tour. And he's getting more valuable because he's becoming more polarizing. And it's not about saying he's going to be wrong. It's the examination of whether he's going to be right or wrong about doing what he's doing. And Jaime, back to what you were saying about, you know, his stats in the driving distance is statistically and where he ranks now as opposed to last year. It's not just, you know, going all the way up to first. It's how much further he's actually hitting it. And oh, by the way, he hasn't hit a golf ball when it's really hot out yet. And when all these fairways are super firm, where potentially could those numbers go? And here's the other thing about him is that, you know, like some other players, and Phil Mickelson comes to mind, that they appear to be an expert on a lot of subject matter. Most of those areas of subject we feel like we have some understanding of. When he starts talking about physics and math, we all just sit here and go, I guess I have to accept it because I don't have an earthly idea what he is talking about. He has improved statistically in every single area. And oh, by the way, he's in the top 10 in sand save percentage this year on the PGA Tour. And I know it's a modest number of starts. I think that Bryson DeChambeau is going into a direction. And if he's 270 in a year, seriously, this bursts into the mainstream of all the sports because he's so different than everybody else already when it comes to math and science.